At Christmas dinner, my niece stood up and announced I was no longer welcome in her life because I'd become toxic. I smiled and slid a USB drive across the table. When she plugged it into her laptop and saw what I'd recorded, she knew her perfect little world was about to collapse. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're from. I'm Eleanor Hart, and at 64 years old, I never imagined I'd be telling this story from a beach house in North Carolina instead of my daughter's guest room in Seattle. But life has a way of surprising you, doesn't it? That Christmas dinner happened 6 weeks ago. To understand how we got there, I need to take you back 9 months to the day I sold my bookstore and everything changed. I'd owned Page Turner Books for 32 years. It started as a tiny shop on Pike Street with 3 shelves and a dream. My late husband James and I built it together, staying open late for book clubs, hosting author events, becoming part of the community fabric. When James died 4 years ago from pancreatic cancer, keeping the store running became my way of keeping him alive. But at 64, the early mornings and long hours were catching up with me. My knees complained about the ladder to reach high shelves. The financial pressure of competing with online retailers was relentless. When a boutique hotel chain offered to buy the building and my lease for $180,000, my daughter Kate convinced me it was time. "Mom, you've earned your rest," Kate said over coffee at the store one morning. "You could travel, maybe move closer to me and Brad. The grandkids would love having you nearby." I looked around at the shelves I'd dusted for 3 decades, the reading nook where hundreds of children had discovered their first favorite books. But Kate was right. James would have wanted me to enjoy life, not exhaust myself trying to preserve a memory. The sale went through in April. After paying off the remaining business debts and taxes, I netted $142,000, more money than I'd ever had at once in my entire life. Combined with James's life insurance policy, I'd never touched, and my modest savings, I was suddenly looking at financial security I'd never imagined. That's when Kate suggested I move to Seattle. "Just for a while, Mom. You can use our guest suite, figure out what you want to do next." Brad's barely home with his surgical schedule, and honestly, I could use the company. The invitation came with an undercurrent I recognized. Kate and Brad had always lived beyond their means. The house in Queen Anne, with the view of the Sound, the private school for Olivia and Max, the Tesla in the garage. Brad's salary as an orthopedic surgeon was substantial, but Kate's spending was more substantial. I should have seen it coming. But I was lonely in that empty apartment above the bookstore, surrounded by boxes of James's clothes I still couldn't donate. Seattle sounded like a fresh start. I moved in June. The guest suite was lovely, all white linens and throw pillows, with a small balcony overlooking their Japanese maple. Kate made a big show of clearing closet space and setting up a coffee station just for me. The financial requests started within 2 weeks. It began innocently. Kate mentioned their landscaper wanted payment up front for a major project. "Just $3,000, Mom. I know it's a lot to ask, but our cash is tied up in Brad's retirement accounts, and we can't access it without penalties." I transferred the money that afternoon. What else was I going to do with it? I didn't need much for myself anymore. Then it was the roof. Needed immediate repairs according to their contractor. $8,500. I paid it because family helps family, right? By September, I'd given them $31,000. Each request came with tears from Kate, gratitude, promises to pay me back once Brad's bonus came through. But the bonus never materialized, or when it did, there was always something else. Property taxes, Olivia's orthodontist, Max's elite soccer league fees. The truth revealed itself on a Tuesday evening in late October. I came home early from my book club because I'd forgotten my reading glasses. Kate's voice drifted down from her bedroom, sharp and angry on the phone. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I was just standing in the hallway, confused by her tone. "No, Richard. I told you we'd have it by Friday. My mother just sold her business. She's loaded, and she's living here rent-free. She owes us. Yes, I'm sure. Another $15,000 by the end of the month, then we're square." My blood went cold. Richard was her personal trainer, a man 20 years her junior, with abs you could see through his shirt and financial sense you couldn't detect with a microscope. I'd met him twice and disliked him both times. Just keep the Bitcoin thing quiet until we can cash out. She doesn't understand cryptocurrency. She barely knows how to use her iPhone. Trust me, she'll never figure it out. I backed down the hallway carefully, my heart pounding. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about James, how he'd worked 16-hour days at the Boeing plant while going to night school, how we'd lived in a studio apartment for 5 years saving for the bookstore down payment, how proud he'd been when we finally paid off our mortgage. The next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I went through Kate's home office while she was at Pilates. I told myself I was being paranoid. I'd find nothing. But I found everything. Stacks of credit card statements stuffed in a drawer. $87,000 in combined debt. Collections notices for medical bills that should have been covered by Brad's insurance. And worst of all, printouts of cryptocurrency transactions. She'd been using my money to invest in something called CryptoRise, a platform that promised 400% returns. The website looked like it had been designed by a teenager. I took pictures of everything with my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I had to retake several shots. That afternoon, I called an attorney. His name was Marcus Webb, a sharp-eyed man in his 50s who specialized in elder financial abuse and estate planning. Mrs. Hart, what you're describing is financial exploitation. Your daughter has been deceiving you about the use of funds you've provided. She's my daughter, Mr. Webb. I can't just accuse her of being a criminal. He leaned back in his chair. Mrs. Hart, in my experience, family members who exploit relatives financially rarely stop voluntarily. The pattern escalates. You've already given her $31,000 in 4 months. At this rate, you'll have nothing left within a year. The number hit me like cold water. $31,000. Enough for a year of rent somewhere beautiful. Enough for the trip to Scotland James and I had always planned but never taken. What can I do? We build a case, document everything. Then we confront her with evidence she can't deny. But first, we protect your assets immediately. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus helped me open new bank accounts Kate didn't know about. We moved most of my money to a credit union across town. I kept just enough in my old accounts to seem normal, in case she was monitoring them, which, as it turned out, she absolutely was. I also hired someone Marcus recommended, a private investigator named Sandra Chen, a former forensic accountant who now specialized in tracking financial fraud. If Kate was involved in something illegal, Sandra would find it. The investigation took 3 weeks. What Sandra discovered was worse than I'd imagined. CryptoRise was a Ponzi scheme. It had collapsed 2 months earlier. The founder, a 29-year-old named Trevor Paulson, was facing federal charges. Everyone who'd invested had lost everything. But here's the thing, Sandra told me in her office, her laptop screen showing a complex web of transactions. Your daughter didn't just invest your money. She's been recruiting other people. Her yoga instructor, 2 neighbors, her hairdresser. She gets a commission for every person she brings in, even though the platform is defunct. She's essentially running her own scam now. My stomach turned. How much have people lost because of her? At least $200,000 total, maybe more. Some of these people cashed out retirement accounts early because Kate promised them it was a sure thing. I thought about those people. Probably people like me. People who trusted someone they thought was their friend. There's something else, Sandra continued. That Richard person, her trainer. He's actually her boyfriend. She's been having an affair for 8 months. The cryptocurrency thing was his idea initially, but Kate's taken it to a new level. The affair shouldn't have shocked me as much as it did. Brad worked 80-hour weeks. Kate was lonely and reckless. But it still felt like a betrayal of everything James and I had taught her about commitment and integrity. What do I do with this information? That depends on what you want. You can walk away, cut your losses, and never speak to her again. You can confront her privately and demand repayment. Or you can expose her publicly and potentially protect her other victims. I knew what James would say. He'd always believed that doing the right thing mattered more than keeping the peace. I want to expose her, but I want to do it in a way that gives her a chance to understand what she's done. Sandra smiled slightly. I have an idea about that. The plan came together over the next 2 weeks. Sandra compiled everything into a video presentation. Bank records, screenshots of Kate's text messages with Richard about recruiting new investors, testimonials from 3 of her victims who were willing to go on camera, even footage from a restaurant security camera showing Kate and Richard together, laughing over expensive wine while I was home babysitting her children. It all went onto a USB drive, small, black, innocent looking, but it contained enough information to destroy Kate's reputation and potentially send her to jail. Thanksgiving was tense. I went through the motions, helping Kate cook the turkey, playing board games with Olivia and Max. Kate was unusually sweet to me, which made sense once I overheard her on the phone with Richard. She's totally clueless. I'll ask for another $15,000 after Christmas. Tell her it's for the kids' summer camp or something. She eats that stuff up. I smiled and kept stirring the gravy. Christmas would be different, I made sure of that. I told Kate I wanted to host Christmas dinner at their house. My treat. I'd hire a caterer, buy all the wine, make it special. She was thrilled, probably already calculating how much money this would save her. I invited Brad's parents, Kate's best friend from college, the neighbors, Kate's yoga instructor from the cryptocurrency scheme, and of course, Brad, Kate, and the kids. 15 people total. The caterer did a beautiful job. The table looked like something from a magazine, all white candles and greenery and gold-trimmed china. Everyone arrived in high spirits. Wine flowed. Conversation was light and cheerful. After dinner, after dessert, after Brad's father had told his annual terrible joke about reindeer, I stood up and tapped my wine glass. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. This year has been one of tremendous change for me. Selling my bookstore, moving here, starting a new chapter. Kate beamed at me. Mom, we're so glad you're here. I smiled back at her. I've learned so much. About family, about trust, about what really matters. I reached into my purse and pulled out a small, wrapped box. Kate, I got you something special this year. She practically glowed as she unwrapped it. Inside was the USB drive, nestled in tissue paper. What is it? Plug it into your laptop and see. I think everyone here will find it interesting. Kate's smile faltered slightly, but curiosity won. She retrieved her MacBook from the office and plugged in the drive. The video started automatically, filling the screen. Sandra's voice, professional and clear. This is a documented case of financial fraud and elder exploitation. The following evidence shows a pattern of deception spanning 4 months. The table went silent. Bank statements appeared on screen. $3,000 to Kate, $8,500 to Kate, $12,000 to Kate. Kate's face went white. She reached for the laptop, but I'd positioned myself between her and it. The video continued. Screenshots of her text messages. I told you we'd have it by Friday. My mother just sold her business. She's loaded. Brad stared at his wife, his fork frozen halfway to his mouth. Then came the testimonials. 3 of Kate's victims, faces blurred but voices clear. She told me it was a sure thing. I emptied my son's college fund. Now it's gone. All $45,000. Kate stood up. Mom, this is insane. You're humiliating me in front of everyone. I'm showing everyone the truth. Something you seem allergic to. The video moved to the security footage. Kate and Richard, holding hands, kissing in a restaurant booth. Brad's mother gasped. Kate's yoga instructor stood up and walked out. Brad just sat there, looking like someone had punched him. The final slide appeared. Total funds obtained through deception, $52,400. Estimated losses to other victims, $187,000. Potential criminal charges: wire fraud, elder abuse, investment fraud. Kate was crying now, but I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, just a strange calm. I unplugged the USB drive. Here's what happens next. You have until January 15th to return every penny you took from me. You will contact every person you scammed and offer to make restitution. You will end your relationship with Richard, and you will attend therapy and financial counseling. And if I don't, her voice was barely a whisper, then I file a criminal complaint. Marcus Webb, my attorney, has already prepared the paperwork. The state prosecutor is very interested in cases like this. You're my mother. How can you do this to me? I'm your mother. How could you do this to me? Brad finally found his voice. Kate, is any of this true? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her face said everything. The party ended quickly after that. Awkward goodbyes, shocked expressions. Brad's mother hugged me on her way out. I always knew something was wrong. Thank you for being brave enough to tell the truth. I packed my bags that night. Marcus had helped me find a furnished rental in Wilmington, North Carolina. A small beach house with a screened porch and a view of the ocean. I'd be there by New Year's. Kate tried to stop me as I loaded my car. Mom, please, can't we talk about this? What's left to say, Kate? You stole from me. You lied to me. You used my love for you as a weapon. I made mistakes. I was desperate. You weren't desperate. You were greedy. There's a difference. I drove away at dawn. 24 hours later, I was standing on a beach watching the sunrise over the Atlantic, feeling lighter than I had in years. The restitution started in mid-January. Kate's first payment was $2,000. Marcus said she'd sold some jewelry and her designer handbags. She has a long way to go, but at least she's trying. Brad filed for divorce. Kate moved into a studio apartment and got a job at a marketing firm. The kids are in therapy. I talk to them on video calls twice a week. Olivia told me she's proud of me for standing up for myself. As for the other victims, 3 of them have joined together to file a civil suit. Kate will be paying off her debts for years, but maybe that's what she needs. James used to say that the hardest lessons are the ones that stick with you longest. I'm writing this from my porch, watching dolphins play in the surf. I've joined a book club here, made friends with my neighbor, a retired teacher named Patricia, who makes the best key lime pie I've ever tasted. I'm thinking about opening a small used bookstore, just for fun. Nothing big. Just a place where people can find good stories. Because that's what life is, isn't it? A collection of stories. Some beautiful, some painful. All of them teaching us something if we're willing to listen. I still love Kate. I probably always will. But I love myself more now. And I've learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is refuse to participate in their self-destruction. If you're watching this and you see yourself in my story, I want you to know something. It's not too late to protect yourself. It's not selfish to set boundaries. And it's not cruel to demand honesty from the people who claim to love you. Family should be a shelter, not a trap. And if the people in your life can't understand that, then maybe it's time to find a new definition of family. Thank you for listening. Subscribe if this resonated with you, and please share your story in the comments if you feel comfortable. Your voice matters. Your truth matters. And remember, somewhere there's a beach with your name on it. Sometimes you just have to be brave enough to drive toward it.